Yes, we're recording it right now. All right, so it's Friday. This is the last Friday of March, I think. January, February, March. Yep, last Friday of March. And we are here in the Uneducated Studios, and Ralph is joining us via phone chat from where are you from today, Ralph?
Fort Bragg.
Fort Bragg. Nice.
Fort Bragg up in Mendocino County.
Okay. All right. Very good. You you making final preparations for heading out?
Yeah, so I don't know how much I've really said because everything keeps on changing. It's fluid in the Army, right?
Uh-huh.
But I got an email yesterday saying that I got the job I had applied for um, observer controller technician, which is like really good for my career. It's going to be in Hohenfelds, but they want me to come 2 months early, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay. Well,
So
um, you meaning you're not going to be ready to do it early, or you just won't have the opportunity?
no, I still have the opportunity. So there's a course I have to go through to be certified to. So basically, an observer controller is like a kind of like a drill sergeant, but for active duty people,
Okay.
and not as mean, right? But we qualify people to be able to go to war. So like every time someone goes to war, they go to a training center before they do that, and they practice simulations of real life activities. And then people like me observe everything, and we mark them like either certified or not certified, and we teach them how to do their job so they're ready to go to war.
Gotcha.
But I have to get the class. That class starts in July, so they want me to try to get there in June.
Okay.
And my original port date was August.
So, do you normally do these kind of trainings like in off season, or is this because we're getting ready to go to war?
So these things happen 24/7 all the time anyway.
Okay.
Um, because even if so, well, we have these things called tables, and you always need to be certified and ready to go.
Hmm.
So they expire like every year or every 3 years or something like that,
Okay.
depending. But oh. So it kind of depends. Like, but if people are going to go to war, they have like they pretty much do it beforehand if they know they're going on a deployment. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Um, so here's what I'm doing, gentlemen. Just so you know, we're not live streaming because we don't have any kind of a stream, and it would just be frustrating for people to try and get online. So I will go ahead and upload it after we're done, and we'll send out a little invite, or we'll make it a schedule like a premiere, and then that way everybody who's on YouTube will get the premiere notice that it's coming up, and then they can watch it later. Does that sound all right?
Yep.
I think Matt should check the comments.
Matt, why are there already comments?
No, no, because nobody's going to be commenting because I can't see it.
Oh yeah, gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So today we thought we would talk about how everybody's doing on their new diets. We thought we'd start there, and then we'll jump into some other things as we move along. And then we're going to talk a little bit about spiritual growth and where we're at personally, spiritually, in our growth process, and how important that is. Because we have a men's conference coming up, Ralph. I don't know where you'll be at the end of September, 1st of October, but we are going to have a men's conference here the last Friday of September, the first Saturday of October. And we're going to talk about what it means to be a man of faith and how that impacts our masculinity and the things that men are dealing with in the culture today, some of the pressures and some of the things that are put on us, some things that are biblical and some things that are definitely unbiblical, but definitely what it means to really be a man of faith and how that plays out in our everyday life. So that's one of the things we're planning on doing. So I thought it might be good today just to spend a little bit of time talking about our own personal spiritual growth and where we're all at. And, people can kind of chime in and see where that is. It would be nice if we were live because then people could get back and forth with us, but it's just going to be us here today. So first thing is this. Brandon, you've been in an all-meat diet for how long now? About a month?
Since February 11th.
Okay. So yeah, a little over a month,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 6 weeks, something like
Yeah.
that. So tell us, how's it going? How you're feeling? What kind of body change has been happening, and what exactly do you eat like in a day, real quick?
Um, I lost about 15 pounds,
Okay.
maybe a little more now. I haven't looked in a week,
All right.
but I think I've been sleeping a little better.
Okay.
Um, I think my energy has improved a little bit. Um, maybe a little bit of clarity in my mind.
Uh huh.
Um, and my typical meal is maybe a pound and a half to 2 pounds of meat a day, maybe a little more.
A day or each meal?
Probably a day,
Okay.
not including eggs, but I eat a lot of eggs.
Okay.
I
So
probably
you're
have
not
5 eggs a day and maybe 2 pounds of meat a day.
okay. And it mostly red meat or chicken?
Mostly red meat.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's good for your heart, I heard.
I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
My LDL should be way down.
It should be.
Yeah,
All right.
and
Okay.
then
And
I noticed a lot of my belly fat is gone, which I
okay.
showed you. And do you think it's a big difference?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't inspecting your belly fat beforehand, but like on a regular basis, but it does seem like it's reduced. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's pretty good. I think it's
I don't
working
want
for me.
people to think that we examine each other's belly fat.
They can think what they want.
Ah, all
But
right.
my goal is in probably another 2 months, compare my original blood work
Yeah.
to my new blood work,
Okay.
and then compare and contrast.
And your thought is that your cholesterol is going to be higher, but your numbers are going to be better overall.
No, my thought is because my LDL cholesterol was already super high.
Okay. You think that's going to still be high?
I think it's still going to be high, but I think it's going to be lower than it originally was.
Okay. And you think your HDL is going to be higher, which is your good cholesterol.
Correct.
Okay, which is good because if that ratio, it doesn't really matter how high the LDL as long as the ratio is good, HDL to LDL.
I don't know all the specifics yet of how my
Okay.
blood work should look, but I know my triglycerides and all that should be down.
Yeah, your triglycerides should be way down.
Yeah.
You get sugar out of your diet, your triglycerides drop to the basement.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
So I think it's good for me so far.
Yeah,
It's a
definitely.
little. I think you're right. It might be a little expensive.
The meat.
Yeah. Sure. It's a lot,
Yeah.
especially if you buy good meat.
Right. Well, that's the key. Like, you don't want to be buying junk meat.
Yeah.
You don't want to be eating chicken fingers from a frozen bag or something like that.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Okay.
the only carbohydrates I would have is like I was telling you is in a sauce.
Okay.
Like if I dip a steak in A1 or
Okay.
something like that. So I'm not totally
Yeah.
super strict about it, but no sugar, super low carbs.
Right. Right.
At least try to be.
Okay. All right. And then I think if I heard correctly, Ralph, you've been on a similar diet. So you want to throw out your thoughts of how you've been feeling and what you're eating in a regular day and all that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. So I couldn't really hear him very well, but I think I'm doing the same diet as him, which is just the carnivore diet. So I don't eat anything that doesn't have a face or doesn't come from something with a face. Um, so typical day, I have like I usually have like a dozen eggs for breakfast,
A dozen.
and
A dozen?
yeah. So let me rephrase that because it's not really a whole dozen. Um, I don't like the whites as much, so I do six whole eggs and six just yolks. And then I cook up the whites for my dogs. They get to have the whites.
Like scrambled?
Um, what's that?
Scrambled?
Yeah, I usually make them scrambled in some butter. Um,
Grass
I'm
fed butter?
I use that Kerrygold Irish high
Mm,
fat grass fed butter. It's delicious.
nice. Okay.
So that's usually what I have for breakfast. Sometimes I'll have like a steak with it too, but more often than not, I'm not hungry enough to eat a steak on top of it. Um, and I don't usually eat lunch because I'm not hungry. And then dinner time, uh, I mean, it varies each day. Sometimes I have pulled pork, but I don't do any seasonings at all besides salt and pepper, which is kind of the hard part because I used to have like all these different rubs and things like that. But almost all of them have sugar in it, so I don't mess with them.
Hmm.
Um, so I've been doing. I did corned beef for St. Patty's Day. Last night I had 6 burgers and two filet mignon. Um, I usually will eat like a couple big ribeyes or something like that. I'm definitely eating a lot, and I'm stuffed every time I eat. So at no point through this diet have I ever said that I was hungry. In fact, the way I'm doing it, like if you are hungry, then you just eat anyway. But I'm trying to do intermittent fasting with it too, so I just eat 2 meals a day. Um, make my own beef jerky because all the beef jerky I could find had sugar in it too.
Right.
So I've been doing that just in case I want a snack or like I'm going hiking or to the beach. I have something I can bring with me.
How much have you
But
lost, Ralph?
so I've actually kind of been stale this week. This is week 4 for me. So actually Monday will be 4 weeks exactly. But I've lost 18 pounds,
Dang.
and my goal is actually not to lose weight. It's so after I saw some people online, multiple people talk about healing of inflammation because sugar is, and even toxins in vegetables can like increase inflammation in the body. And then, I've got that knee problem. I'm doing it for physical pain, but I'm hoping that, I keep up the weight thing too, because it's definitely an added bonus.
Do you think it's helped your inflammation?
I don't know. Some days I do, some days I don't. Um,
Do you think
I
your
think I need to
quality of
give
sleep
it.
is better?
I think I sleep the same, but I will tell you, like my energy levels during the day are
Higher.
more even.
Yeah, I
I don't,
agree.
I don't, I'm never really like peppy, but I'm never like really. I don't know. It's just more even, well, without sugar and stuff like that. But I do say, as a whole, I feel better. Um, a little happier. Not that food should make you happy, but I'm a little happier in general.
Do you include any dairy?
So I kind of do cheat on the weekends a little bit, especially being in wine country. So on the weekends I'll have a glass of wine, and I usually have like some hard cheese on the weekends. But unless I'm eating burgers, I don't do any cheese throughout the week.
Nice. I do like a glass of milk a week and a little bit of cheese on a burger if I do it. But
Would
milk
you say?
was.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Right down in the top of that.
I do like a glass of milk, maybe once a week, and a little bit of cheese
Oh,
on my
okay.
burger if you know what I mean. If I have burger, but dairies was my downfall before the diet. I could drink a gallon of milk a day. So one glass a week is pretty good for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's not much.
Have you noticed where have you been losing the weight? Do you notice like you're losing belly fat? What's your composition looking like?
I've lost mostly like my neck and face and my stomach. Yeah.
Same here.
So did you have a fat face?
Yeah, more than I realized, to be honest.
Okay, all right. So
I didn't. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, so when people see you, because that's what happened to me when I lost a lot of weight here about, I don't know, 5 years ago. I went from 238 to like 195. Actually, I was at 252, and then I went to 195. And people thought I had cancer. They were like, "Are you okay?" I mean, people would come up to me like, "Are you sick?" I mean, because my face was thin. So are people coming up to you asking you if you have cancer or something?
No, everyone sees me every day that I talk to, so nobody's even noticed.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's good. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll take and just talk a little bit about what I've been doing. So I probably about 6 years ago, I was at my highest weight ever. I was like at 252. And I didn't feel good. Obviously, I was terrible. So I started. I don't even, to be honest, I don't even know what I started doing. I just started watching my calories and tried to eat healthier. I started eating more fruits and vegetables. I went on an elimination diet. I got grains out of my life, gluten, so that kind of changed some things. And then it's just been a whirlwind for me in my diet for the last, I don't know, 6 years or so. But I went from 252 to about 195, and now I've kind of hovered in between like 198 to 205 back and forth, and I kind of flip flop. And so last week, I think yeah, it's been about a week now. I went back to intermittent fasting, so I'm fasting for 16 hours, 16 to 18 hours, and then I eat in that smaller, 6 to 8 hour window. And what I've been trying to do is I haven't been throwing away my vegetables or my fruits. I still eat a smoothie with tons of kale and blueberries, and just a little bit of pomegranate juice, and almond milk, and then a protein powder which has stevia in it. Which I'm not a huge fan of the fake sugars, but the stevia I've read and researched enough where I feel like it's okay, that's fine, a little bit of that. And so I do that at least once a day to get my greens in and those kind of things. And then I do try to eat mostly meat, so I'll have a couple eggs maybe, but I will throw some carbs in there once in a while. Like I might have some gluten-free homemade bread that April makes. I might have that with my eggs, or I might have tuna. And if I have tuna, I might put it on a gluten-free chip that's like cooked in avocado oil, or I'll take some of her bread and do that. But I try to make it minimal. But like no sugars, no simple carbs. If I have any carbohydrate, it's definitely a complex carbohydrate, and it's a healthy carbohydrate, meaning it's not processed or whatever, at least minimally processed. So I've been doing that, and I was at around 205, 207 last week when I started, and I'm at like 198 right now. So I've lost about 8 pounds in a week just doing the intermittent fasting and going to almost no sugar and mostly protein with a little bit of carbs. Most of the carbs coming from either fruits or vegetables. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I'm actually planning on trying to become more aggressive with the like less carbs, but I think I'm going to be more aggressive towards my vegetables and fruits, as opposed to not so much fruits but my vegetables, as opposed to trying to eat like tons of beef and stuff like that. Because to be honest, I don't eat much beef. I had a burger the other night, but I didn't have a bun. I just had onions on top of it.
Flying Dutchman.
Yeah, right. So that's kind of where I've been at for the last week or so, and I've lost like, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 pounds, somewhere around there. And I got this new app, this new scale that I bought, and supposedly when you put your feet on it, it has these silver pads that it's supposed to be able to tell your body composition. So whether or not it's true, I have lost almost, let's see, 2% of visceral and body fat since I've been doing this. And my overall muscle mass has kind of stayed the same, my skeletal muscle. I don't know how they can tell all that just by a scale going up through your feet, but supposedly it can tell those things. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
I got one of those scales too. So they do it through electric current. So you put in your height, age, and then it gets your weight, and then like based on how long the current goes through your body from one foot to the other, like something has to do with like the speed of it.
Okay.
It tells you like body fat and water and all that kinds of stuff. It's kind of crazy.
Right, right. But I think Brandon's got one coming, don't you?
I just ordered one, yeah.
So is this? So let me ask you a question, because we'll get into spiritual growth, and we can continue to talk about diet stuff you want. But so probably about a year and a half ago, well, I've struggled with anxiety since my nephew passed away about 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Well, it'll be 11 years this April, actually. So in that process, God has delivered me from anxieties. And I'm not saying they don't tempt me and try to eat my lunch some days, but I know how to combat that. I know how to deal with that in the Word and with God's Spirit, and so they don't stop my life. I'm not stuck in anxiety anymore, and it's not an issue, other than it tries to tempt me sometime. But spiritually, I did feel like about a year and a half ago, God specifically in quiet time told me that I was making my body an idol and I was making my health an idol, meaning that I was putting so much focus and so much effort on trying to stay alive and stay healthy so that I didn't die of a heart attack, so that I didn't get cancer, and he showed me that I still had fear of dying, number one. Even though I really feel like I've overcome that fear of dying, there's something still there that's pushing me to want to eat healthy to try and prevent any kind of premature death. But then at the same time, God revealed to me too that because I was so focused on that, I was making my health an idol because I was worshiping it. However, I think spiritually, God wants us to be good stewards of our bodies, but there's a line there that has to be drawn. So, gentlemen, are you slipping into idolatry with your diets or your eating habit, or do you feel pretty balanced there right now? Because I feel like I'm fairly balanced because I'm not trying to do this just because of fear, but I do want to be healthy and I want to be everything that the Lord wants me to be. But where are you guys at?
I feel like I've got a lot of issues in my life, but that's not one of them.
Okay.
um, I I I probably don't care enough about my body as I should. And the only reason I'm really doing this diet is because I haven't taken care of my body so much that I'm in so much pain with my knee, um, that I'm not sure if I can continue to do my job. So
Okay.
for me, it's like I'm resulting to this diet rather than caring so much about my health. I
Okay.
don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
No. All right. All right. What about you, Brandon?
Um, it doesn't really affect me spiritually. I just want to try to be healthier.
Okay.
I think Jesus said, or somebody said, your body's a temple, right?
It is. Yeah.
Probably should keep your temple clean and as pure as you can.
You should now in those references when he talks about that. Well, technically, Paul talks about it in Corinthians, two different places, but the one place specifically is talking about sexual immorality. So the body is the temple. The other place he just references it as a temple.
Right.
So then you could kind of take that reference and kind of run the gamut and say, yeah, we should take care of our bodies.
Yeah.
But there's obviously discrepancies on how you do that because, we always hear the story of the 105-year-old lady who smoked all of her life, and people will be
Right.
like, well, so why do I have to not smoke?
Right.
So, but I hear what you're saying, and I think we should be good stewards of everything that God gave us.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on that, Ralph?
Yeah, I mean, like I think the diet is, or people's health is just like everything else in this world. It really doesn't matter what it is. You could insert anything. Like you could insert sports or football. Like you could insert wine tasting, or you could insert whatever you want to. Like you can do almost anything in moderation. You can enjoy things and have passion for them without letting it be your God. But once you're spending more time and thought and energy concerned on X than you are on your relationship with God, then it's already an idol.
Right.
Yeah, if it's
So do you spend
consuming
more
your
time
life.
looking up, stuff on your diet or looking up stuff about Jesus? Do you spend more time like rooting for the Seattle Seahawks than you do reading your Bible? Then you probably have your priorities wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. We won't talk
Yeah.
about Seattle and the one-eyed monster.
Hey, one-eyed monster is something different, Brian. You better
Oh.
watch yourself there.
Man, it's so bad how things can be twisted and contorted. Oh my. All right. Yeah. Well, I won't go there. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. And Paul said everything is allowable for me, but not everything's profitable. So I think we just got to be in moderation. And I told Brandon earlier this morning that for me, I don't want to be enslaved to feeling like I have to eat a certain way or I have to do this or I have to do that. to be honest, I want to stop thinking about food altogether. Like there's two references that I keep coming back to, and it's one where Jesus is in the wilderness and he's been tempted, and Satan comes to him and tells him to turn the stones to bread, and Jesus says, "Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes out of the mouth of God." And so I want to live by every word that comes out of the mouth of God instead of living for food.
Well,
Go ahead.
they're also poisoning us. You know what I mean? With everything they put in there. So it's kind of nice to pick. We're still able to pick and choose what we want to eat now.
That is true.
You know what I mean?
No, I agree with that. Yeah.
And
What did he say?
there's nothing wrong with.
Can you hear that, Ralph?
I heard there's nothing wrong with, and that was
Okay.
it.
All right. As
There's
long as
nothing
you-
wrong with being able to pick good food. You know what I mean? Because pretty soon they might be able to just say, "Hey, you're eating McDonald's," or "You're eating this," and the supermarkets aren't going to be open, or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the other reference I had too was the reference of when Jesus' disciples go into town to get some food, and they come back, and he's been talking with the woman at the well, and they said, "Hey, we got food for you," and he said, "I have food that you know nothing about, and my food is to do the will of my Father." So for me, I want to get to this place where I'm not worried about food. Matthew chapter 6 says, seek first, 6:33, seek first the kingdom and all of its righteousness, and he'll take care of the food and the clothing and the shelter part. He'll take care of all that for you. So I want to get to that place where I'm not concerned about that. So at the end of the day, if all I have is kale and some blueberries, and I want to throw that in the blender, I'm not going to feel like, oh, I'm going to get high cholesterol or my insulin's going to spike or all the stuff that all the health nutrition tell you that's not good or bad or vice versa for you.
Yeah, he'll basically provide you the food,
Right.
and then I think it's up to your discretion on what you want to put in your body.
Yeah, to a degree. But there comes a time, too, like in the Depression days where all they had was potatoes and rice.
Right.
So you're like, oh, that's going to spike my insulin. So what are you going to do? Starve to death or eat potatoes and rice?
Right. You eat potatoes and rice.
Right, right.
Maybe more potatoes than rice.
Yeah, because at least it has. Although they both soak up a lot of pesticides.
True.
You know, root vegetables and rice, they'll soak up a lot. Ralph, you want to jump in on anything on that?
I'm kind of going down rabbit trails in my mind, so I don't know if I should bring it up or not. But
Bring them up.
just stop. Yeah, just stop me if it's too boring or too far off topic. I'd like to say one thing, like our worrying about what we're eating or that we're eating too much is like such a stupid problem. Like
It is.
I'm sorry, but like if you really think about, like, we've had it too good. Like, this is, I think our humanity, we need like drama for some reason in our lives. And like when we have it so good that we start arguing over like things that really don't matter. Whereas you have people that actually like feel like Israel, for example, you know, they're always at war with Palestine or this and that. Like you have to worry for your life on a daily basis, and those people tend to be happier and not stress about stupid things like this. Like, and I'm not saying it's because health is important. I'm not saying it's like stupid in general, but like we have it so good in America that most of us overeat because everything's so abundant, and that's what we stress about, as well as like other stupid things like the political divide and things like that. You know,
Right.
I don't know. I feel like if famine comes to the world, we might unite a little bit more and worry about bigger issues. But it's just, I don't know, just a perspective I was kind of thinking of when we were talking about all this, because I worry about it too. I'm not trying to shame anyone.
Back to the whole diet thing. I also think that.
What do you say?
Back to the whole diet thing. I also think that you should listen to your body and see how your body responds with certain foods that you put in it. I mean, if Brian loves potatoes, but he gets sick from eating them all the time, probably shouldn't eat them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what a diet kind of is.
Yeah. You can hear that, Ralph, now?
No, he sounds like really far away, and it kind of comes in and out like choppy. So, I never can hear him though when I'm on the phone, so I don't know.
I'm
That's
actually,
really strange. But you can hear my mic.
Yeah, I can hear yours,
I'm talking pretty loud.
and I can usually hear Matt. Is he there today?
Well, Matt's usually sitting in my seat, or that I'm sitting. No, Matt's not here today. He's at
Do I move there?
he's at Belly Burger. Yeah, Brandon's gonna move to a different mic. We'll see if we can get a different spot on him. We'll try it. See what happens. Yeah. So I'm at that place too where I just don't want to think about food anymore. So if I get to the end of the day and I find out that I haven't eaten anything, I don't want to go, oh, I got to eat something or else I'm going to die. You know, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Like those kind of things are, you know, people in other countries and other worlds, you know, they're thinking through those things. I'm just trying to get a line over there to Brandon. They're thinking through those things on a regular basis because they don't have food for sometimes weeks at a time. But for me, you know, one day and I feel like I'm starving to death, and I just don't think that's good either. So that's why I want to get spiritually. I want to get to that place where my mind and my heart is not focused on food anymore. And what you said, Ralph, is 100% true. That we live in this realm that you know, that's all we concern ourselves about is food and entertainment. So, all right, Brandon, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Can you hear him now?
I can hear him now.
How about now, Brandon? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes.
You can hear Brandon?
Yeah.
How about now, Brandon?
Testing.
Can you hear him now?
Hear him. Yeah.
All right, he's good now. All right, we'll have to figure out what's going on with that mic then. Why you can't hear that side of that mic. Huh.
I actually talk a lot in these podcasts, but you had it on mute the whole time.
Yeah. No, I didn't have it on mute. But even that one over there was running, and it just didn't seem to pick up for some reason. And we can hear it here, Ralph, into the board.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear him, but it always sounds like he's really far away, and at least on the phone, it breaks in and out like quiet, and then I hear him a little bit, and then quiet. You know what I'm talking about, like choppy.
Yeah, but now it's better?
Yeah. So far.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, all right, let me just jump in then, and we'll just move from physical food to spiritual food. So, how are you guys eating when it comes to the Word? Are you taking time to get into the Word? So, this is what's interesting. We eat, even if you go, I'm intermittent fasting. I'm eating twice a day. Are you sitting down and getting alone with God twice a day? You know, this will get really telling. You know, we'll be telling on ourselves where we're at spiritually here. But I'll just start. Of course, I am every day. I'm in the Word doing something in preparation, either for church or for school. But I must say that the last couple weeks, I would say maybe 3 to 5 days out of the week, I get alone with God in the middle of the day. I'll say 2 to 4 days a week I get alone with God in the middle of the day, which I'm not very proud of because I've been trying to get alone with Him every day in the middle of the day and just walk away from everything and just get alone and be quiet in prayer and reading the scriptures. At night, I would say probably almost 90% of the time I'm in the Word, either studying something personal or reading something and then praying. And then in the mornings, I usually don't read, but I usually am up and I do lay in bed and just meditate either on scripture memory verse or just talk to the Lord in bed before I get out of bed. So that's kind of, sometimes I'll walk through the Lord's Prayer, sometimes I'll walk through the 23rd Psalm, and I just kind of just meditate and think through that. So that's kind of where I've been at, but I'm not happy with that at all because I still feel like it's not where I'm at, like where I want to be. I'm not satisfied with that. And for some people that they might think, oh my goodness, that's amazing. But for me, I'm not satisfied with that at all. So where are you guys at?
Well, I'd be satisfied with that.
Okay. All right. Well, tell us where you're at, Ralph. This, I mean,
Uh, well,
this is not beat up anybody either. We're just see
yeah.
where we're at and we'll deal with it.
Well, to be completely honest, I'm in the realm of false busyness. Um, so so I do usually pray throughout the day, but like it's rushed. It's not like I'm spending quality time with him. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Um, like 'cause I'm like remember that popcorn prayer? Did you ever do that when you were in youth group?
No. I was never actually
Oh,
in a youth group because I wasn't raised in the church in that sense where I went to youth group. So.
okay, so at least where I went to church, we had what we call popcorn prayer, which is like everyone would just kind of sit together and be quiet. And then as soon as you had something, you would just pray for it real quick, and then somebody else would jump in and pray for it. And it's like we call it popcorn prayer. Um, but that's kind of like how my prayer life is anyway right now. Like I'm, whether it's real or illusion, I feel super busy all the time. Like I feel like I don't have time to do anything, and I'm behind on everything, which is really frustrating. So I'll like think about something, and then I'll pray for that real quick, and then I'll get back to doing what I was doing. But I'm not like being alone with God and slowing down my life and being still and knowing, like I'm missing that part of my spiritual walk with God right now. I'm definitely not reading enough. I think it's for me, ideal reading is three scriptures a day. I used to do it the way that Dietrich Bonhoeffer did it, which is I read Old Testament in the morning, I'd read a Psalm during lunch, and then I'd read a New Testament in the evening. But lately, I've been reading like maybe like once every 3 days or something. It's really not enough. So, like I said, I'd be happy to be where you're at.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Well, when we get by the time we get to the end of the show, we're gonna help each other. We're gonna figure something out where we can help encourage each other somehow. So, Brandon, you're up. What's your life looking like spiritually?
In the morning, before I go to work, Sarah and I usually read these 2 devotionals. Then we read a psalm, and that kind of sets the tone. I always pray in the morning before I go to work. I usually pray throughout the day. Sometimes I don't, but I usually do. And then at night, I at least like to read 1 chapter somewhere, and then I always pray at night. Whether it's quick, whether it's long, I have to get my praise in. And that's kind of how I do it. Can it be better? Yeah. But it's a good foundation for me coming from nothing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Because you just had your let's see, 2 Wednesdays ago, you just had your 1 year anniversary of giving your life to Christ. Am I right?
Yep.
What was the date on that? March
March 9th.
March 9th. You hear that, Ralph? 1 year.
1 year. Wow, that's a good place to be.
It is. It is.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so I think what Ralph talked about, the busyness part, is all of us. We all are
Oh, yeah.
crunched with that.
Super crunched.
So
And if I'm not reading, I at least like to listen to something.
yeah,
It's probably not as good, but I'll listen to like someone speaking or something related to Jesus.
right,
You know?
right, yeah,
I like to try to be encapsulated in that.
yeah. I do too. This is not really off topic, but it's a little strange. When I don't feel well, I love to just get in bed or go on the couch and like if I'm sick, like when I had COVID or whatever, or whatever, if I'm just not feeling good, like a sickness, I'll get on the thing and I'll turn on like videos and just let the videos play while I kind of fall in and out of consciousness and stuff. And I don't know, that just soothes me to just be taking in the Word of God or people speaking about the Word of God. I don't know what it is, but I like being in the kingdom and in the family of God. It gives me peace and comfort. I don't know if that's weird or not, but
The hardest part is being beaten up because you don't think it's enough.
yeah. Ralph, you get beat up a lot, it sounds like, probably, because you said you don't feel like you're where you need to be at, right?
Yeah, I don't, and I don't know. I don't know if it's ever gonna slow down um or if I'm gonna make the time. But like I I don't do it in the morning because I've got too much going on, and I don't even contact the people I should during the day as far as like work and things like that. So adding an extra thing in the middle of the day probably isn't it. So it really comes down to I need to either wake up really early or I need to do it when I get home. And when I get home, I'm usually so mentally and physically drained because I despise my job uh, that I usually literally just sit on the chair after I make dinner. I sit on the chair and I just like don't do anything at all.
Do you throw YouTube videos on or something, or you just literally
Sometimes,
sit
most of the time, I literally just sit.
in quiet
Like,
silence?
well, there's usually noise on in the background, but I'm just sitting, and I'm just like, because I don't want to focus on anything. I just kind of like zonk out and stare up into space.
Gotcha.
Which we all been there.
Yeah. So
What's that? I, he is hard to hear, by the way.
I said we all been there.
Yeah.
okay. So I think over the years I've looked at this for myself, and I've made I've come to the conclusion that the reality is that we are busy, but we're probably no more busy. Not even probably. We are no more busy than what Jesus was when he was on the earth, or when the disciples were, and Paul worked a job plus did ministry, and so they were busy as well, and yet they saw the disciplines, the spiritual disciplines and practices of prayer and reading the scriptures, and they saw that as important. And so I guess at the least, we have to start with going, okay, do we see that as something that's just important in our lives? Like, is that as important as food? Is that as important as having a place to live or having an income? Because I've always been frustrated as a pastor watching people not necessarily volunteer and serve in the church, because some people will volunteer and serve in the church, but usually the church gets the leftovers and the seconds because people are usually giving most of their time and their energy to their jobs and other things that they're doing, even recreational things. People will scout for tickets for a game more than they'll scout for a discipleship curriculum to start a study at church with other people. But they'll spend an hour online trying to find tickets to a game that they're going to go to on Sunday, and they won't be in church, but they'll be at this game on Sunday. So those are the kind of things that I found frustrating, not because they're not in church, but because their importance of all these other things are more so than their spiritual health. And so I think we got to ask ourselves the question as men, as Christians, is our spiritual health the most important thing in our life?
It is. Like I told you yesterday when we were on the highway,
Mm-hmm.
we have to read our devotional in the morning, and we have to read our psalm.
And you're saying you and Sarah, that's how you feel. You have to read.
And we usually pray together, but sometimes we don't. And if I don't care if I'm late for work, that gets done before I go to work. I don't care. That sets the tone for my day. And then there's been times where I've been really late for work, and we don't read it, and I leave the house, but she'll call me and read it through the truck on the speakers. You know what I mean? So I still get it no matter what. We both get it,
No, that's good. That's good.
It's super important.
What did he say was? Is it reading the Bible or a prayer? I didn't hear what you said it was.
We read these 2 devotionals in the morning, like they're March 25th, in these 2 books. And there's like a little thing little reading that sets the tone for the day. And then we'll usually read a psalm in the morning. And then we'll usually pray together. But I make sure that's always done before my day starts. No matter if I'm late for work or not, I don't care. That needs to be done.
I think that's like the hardest part is like finding that time to set aside every day. And once you get that down, like that's part of your routine, that's like the perfect place to be, honestly.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. It's 10 minutes in the morning. You know what I mean? I have, I mean, I can make 10 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's super important for everybody. Everybody's in a rush, and we are. But you don't have 10 minutes to, for in the morning and 10 minutes at night. You know what I mean? That's how I feel.
Yeah, and that's
And
like
that kind of keeps me on track. Like, I don't have 10 minutes. Yes, I do.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and for me, that 5 or 10 minutes is important. But for me, I'm in a place where, so April and I, a lot of times we'll have devotions with the boys, and when I say a lot of times, like we used to when they were younger, I mean it was an every night thing. Now that they're older and our schedules are different, sometimes it's just if everybody's home, then either April or I will catch it and we'll be like, hey, we're gonna do devotions. And the boys will be like, all right, we'll be down in a minute. And so then they come down. And right now, we're actually doing the bondage breaker stuff, Neil Anderson bondage breaker stuff. And we're going through the book. And that's been really good for everybody. So we do those at night together. But then a lot of times, April and I will go upstairs and she'll read for a while or whatever. Maybe I'll read. And then we'll pray together before we go to bed. But for me and Ralph, I'm just wondering, Ralph, if this would be helpful for you. But for me, I've been finding that I just need, like Ralph, you said you come home and you'll just sit. And I think we don't understand that that's important. It's important to just get alone and just be quiet. And maybe, Ralph, instead of sitting where there's background noise, maybe you just go somewhere and you just let your mind, like I think it's okay just to be in the presence of God and not feel like you got to say anything, not feel like you have to do anything like read or study. You can just be in his presence and just know, say, okay, God, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to walk. Like sometimes I'll go out by the garden. And granted, there might be cars that drive by because we live in West Farmington there and, it's not like we're secluded. But I'll go out by the garden because there's no TV on, there's nothing going on. And I just walk and I just kind of hang out around the garden and stuff and just stand there. And I just 15, 20 minutes, half hour. And sometimes I'll sense God bringing something up in my mind and maybe I'll talk to him about it. And other times maybe I'll just kind of be quiet. But I think that's okay. I think we got to stop thinking that spiritual disciplines mean we have to do something. And I think it would be okay, Ralph, if you said, you know what, every time when I get home, I spend a half hour just doing absolutely nothing. That maybe that's a spiritual discipline, at least if you're focusing, saying, you know what, I'm going to go get alone and just be quiet. And God, I want you to know that I'm doing this so that I can find rest in you. And I think God will honor that. Yes, no, thoughts?
I think that I think that I can't answer on that. I don't know.
Okay.
Because it's kind of well, I'm not kind of what I'm doing, but like I am just doing nothing now and it's not working for me.
Well, I guess that was
um,
my thought, Ralph. Like maybe
yeah.
because when you sit down, like you got all this background noise and you're doing what everybody else does. They just kind of sit. But what if you were to intentionally say, okay, I'm going to go get alone where there is no background noise, but my focus is I'm just going to be in your presence, God, and start changing your mindset that I'm not just going to sit here and veg out. I'm actually going to go somewhere or wherever I'm at. I'm just going to let God know that, God, I'm here in your presence and whatever you want to say to me and whatever kind of rest. Because, Jesus, Ralph, you know this, and Brandon, you've heard this verse before, but Jesus said, anyone who is weary and has heavy burdens, come to me and I will give you rest. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And then he says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble of heart, and you will find rest for your soul. Now, if we were actually to do that, then we could trust in the promise that rest will come. Like if we come to Jesus, we could trust that he said, come to me. That's all we have to do. We don't have to do anything else. Just come to him. And he said, you'll find rest. That's the promise. You'll find rest for your soul. And so could we not start like intentionally doing that and then shut everything off and say, okay, I'm not going to do anything and just let you give me rest and see what happens. I don't know. It's a thought.
No, I think at a minimum that'd be better than what I do normally.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, uh, so I know it's probably just me, but I have that theology background where if I'm not studying, I don't feel like I'm getting much out of it. And I can admit right now in front of you and the two people that'll probably listen to this podcast later, um, that that's my area of weakness is I love the knowledge of God. I love to spend energy and time figuring stuff out that's in the Bible, um, making it make sense and stuff like that. But when it comes to especially singing in church and praising, I hate that stuff. I do. I'm sorry.
No,
Just
gotcha.
do. When it comes to that kind of stuff, or like prayer, or like meditation, things like that, that's where I'm super weak. I don't feel like I'm not spiritual. I just don't like. That's not. I don't. I don't enjoy it. And
Gotcha.
and worship is part of the requirement. Like the Bible's very clear. Worship is part of what's owed to Him. From us.
Yeah, but worship isn't just singing songs, though, right?
No, but it is prayer. Prayer is a form of worship.
Yeah.
Which is my whole issue with when you talk about like the Catholic Church, like when you argue with a Catholic about them worshiping false idols, well, like you're praying to Mary. That's worshiping Mary.
Yeah.
So anyway, like that, my point is, from my perspective, prayer is just as much a form of worship, and I'm also weak at that. Like I don't know. I like head knowledge, which I like to equate to heart knowledge. But when it comes to application through what I'm learning, that's where the weaker part comes in.
I enjoy that too, and so sometimes when I'm like not into just sitting down and reading a book of the Bible, I'll take a topic and I'll like at night I'll research it. Or I have a couple of Michael Heiser books which he deals with like different topics, and they're like maybe 2 pages in a book, and I'll read those 2 pages, and then all the scripture that he references, I'll go back and study that. And I think that's just as important, and it's just as good of a discipline as being quiet. And so I think if you like, for me, I have to change things up. I can't do the same thing over
You
and
get
over.
burnt out.
Yeah, I do. I just can't do it. Like sometimes I'll pray outside by the garden. Sometimes I'll go for a prayer walk. Sometimes I'll literally get on the bed and just lay on my back and just try to be quiet. So I try to do different things because I don't know whether it's my ADD or I've never been diagnosed with anything, but it's hard for me to do the same thing over and over and over and over again. You know how some people could eat oatmeal every morning for like the next 30 years and they'd be okay with that. I can't. I can eat oatmeal once or twice, and then I got to have something different the next day. That's just who I am. So I think that's okay too. Like Ralph, I mean, for you, getting into the Word, and maybe that's something too you might want to look into, and just finding topics like that theology on tap stuff. If we ever get to it, and we start getting more consistent with it, I mean, those are really the kind of things we could do on our own. We could find a topic, start slowly, a little bit, 15 minutes in the evening, for the next couple weeks, and then pretty soon we're an expert on it in, a couple months, and then we, sit down and we have a theology on tap, which would make it a lot better conversation if we've actually researched and done our work.
Yeah, and that's actually the kind of stuff that I like to do, but I have not been doing, that I find myself too, like, quote unquote, too busy to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
That's the stuff that comes naturally.
yeah.
Hey, also, just a heads up, I
gotta
got
get out.
someone coming to my house here soon, so I'm gonna have to hang up.
Yeah.
So don't take offense if I just hang up.
No, that's okay. I'll tell you what. It's
Sorry, go ahead.
It's 10:59 here, so we could probably channel off, and that way I'll go ahead and get this thing uploaded and stuff. But let's just maybe we'll close in a word of prayer, and then I just think this week it would be good to just encourage people to, be wise at what you how you live your life as far as your eating habits, because you need to be a good steward of your body. But more importantly, spiritually, I think we need to be sure that we're being fed spiritually, and that's a personal thing. So, all right. So anybody want to close us in prayer? Ralph,
I
you got.
think Brandon should do it loud and proud so I can actually hear him.
I think you should.
Go ahead, Ralph.
All right.
You're the farthest away.
All right. Ready? Heavenly Father, I pray that you would help all of us, whether on this podcast or just listening to it, that you would help us to focus on you and renew our minds in you, Lord God, and that you would help us to heal physically and spiritually. I pray that you would give us accountability partners that would help us to stay focused on you and not get distracted with the things of this world. And I just pray that you bless us this week until we meet again. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, and that is a wrap, and we'll see you guys next Friday.
Oh, hello. Did you like what you see today? Well, click the link below and hit subscribe. We would appreciate your followership. Have a great day.